This is kvci.blogspot.com. I'm George Boston Rhymes, and I'm in Valdosta, Georgia. We may not hear much from our religious leaders here in Valdosta, Georgia, and so I thought I would come out and let you know that all of us are not playing the ostrich head duck. That is wherein we bury our head in the sand and pretend that we are living in paradise, because we either live in fear. Some cases we have taken money from people and we can't tell the truth. Unlike Moses, unlike Jeremiah, unlike Gideon, unlike Elijah, unlike Minister Louis Farrakhan, unlike John Brown, unlike the founding fathers of this republic, unlike Harriet Tubman or Mary McLeod Bethune or Shirley Chisholm, unlike many other leaders of this earthly plane. So I came here today in front of the Valdosta City Hall to say to you, where are our religious leaders? How many religious leaders do you see at City Council meeting asking a question about the federal dollars that pave the roads here in Valdosta and Lowndes County that could save our children from going to jails and prisons and being put on probation? How many religious leaders do you hear addressing the issues? And those who address the issues, do you support them? Or do you join those who are in the religious community who condemn a man or woman who stand up for what Moses stood up for, and that was the masses of the people? Or you criticize the ones who are doing something, but the ones who are doing nothing but going to church and playing the religious game of yesteryear, while our sons and daughters are filling the jails and prisons for whatever reason, many because they can't find gainful employment. So we dip. We see the employment rate among black African Americans and poor whites skyrocket. The crime rate go up. But what do we do about it? We criticize them. We talk about them having their pants down. But what about their pants being down? Yes, we go to church. All of us go to church. But our children need jobs. Our children need respect. Our children want to be treated as equals. They have heard their mothers, they have heard their fathers, they have heard their grandparents, and they have heard others talk about what they have gone through along the lines of mistreatment and unfairness. I'm not making excuses. But Jesus said, and ye shall know the truth, and that the truth will set and make you free. Right here in City Hall, citizen to be heard is the last item on the agenda. The last item. What have the religious community said about that? Yet we send our sons and daughters into foreign nations to protect the rights of citizens, yet the citizens here in Valdosta, they are put to the end of the agenda on city and county governmental meetings, and in the library, they turn their backs to the head of the participants in public meetings. And they draw a 8-foot long square, 4 feet wide, for Channel 6, Channel 10, NBC, and all news media to put their camera, I guess. As if though they don't want the general public to know what is going on. Here again, we just want to go to heaven. We want to fly around in heaven with wings. We want to walk on streets paved with gold. We want to talk about I'm a preacher, I'm a bishop, I'm a missionary. I wear a long white robe. But what about the loss and the preservation of life? What about that? I'm gonna leave you now. I stood in front of the city council because I want you to know. Mr. John Robinson and myself been fighting for nearly 4 years to break this economic pie down from the good old boys, those who have always enjoyed the best, while the religious leaders say nothing. How many of these buildings downtown does black African Americans own? How many of these streets was paved by a black contractor? The Hudson Docket area, the Orly West, and there are a lot of other HUD-funded buildings too in this area. So who gets and who benefits from these federal dollars that were set up to help the economically oppressed people who had been mistreated from the beginning of this nation? And so in '68 they passed laws, Title 3, or Title 8, Section 3, all of these programs set up to help the low-income, economically deprived people. But your religious leaders don't even talk about it if they know about it. Now they'll talk to you in the bathroom. They'll talk to you in the back of the building, but they won't talk about it in public. It is as if they never heard of the story of Moses, or as if they never heard of the story, or not a story, but the truth of Jesus, wherein Jesus said, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Or God, when God said, I have no respect of persons, and that he did not give up the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. So why do we have so much power, and so much mouth, and so much Holy Ghost inside of a church, but when it comes down to speaking truth to power, we dip and we bury our head in the sand, like the legend concerning the ostrich bird. I just thought I would share this with you. We got to wake up and don't be a hypocrite. If you don't love Jesus, just say you don't love him. And if you don't love God's people, and if you don't stand up for God's people like Jesus, Moses, and the rest of them, you need to question your love for Jesus. It's just that simple. Jesus said, when I was in prison, you didn't come visit me. When I was hungry, you didn't feed me. When I was naked, you didn't clothe me. When I was on probation and didn't have representation, you didn't come to see about me. That's the teachings of Jesus. And so all we can do is go to church and talk about Jesus, Muhammad, Elijah, Master Farad Muhammad. Then what good is our religion? What good is a religion? What need of me putting on a robe like this, looking like Jesus, looking like Moses, but can't stand up like Moses? I think I need to go sit down. Yes, go sit down and get out of people's way and stop criticizing people about what they are not doing. The question is, what are you doing? What am I doing? I'm not here to criticize you, because whatever I'm doing, it's not even the size of a flea to what I need to be doing. I'm not here to down you. I'm not even in a position to down you. I'm perhaps the most ignorant of all God's servants. But I'm smart enough to know that I'm ignorant. And ignorant only means that I don't know what's in your head. But if you tell me what's in your head, I may not know what's in your pocket. But if you tell me what's in your pocket, then I'm not ignorant in that anymore. So let's wake up to the realities of now. And let us be what Moses was. Let's not play games. Let's not live in fear. And above all, let us act right. Let us be fair. Let us love one another. Let us respect one another. Help us to come to city council and county commissioners meeting and stand up as the founding fathers and as our mothers and fathers and grandmothers did yesterday. Even in the black African American community, people stood up. But today our nation is going to hell because we don't seem to give a damn. And so the wicked, we allow the wicked to control us. And somewhere I read, if a man haven't found something that he's willing to die for, then he isn't fit to live. You got the Holy Ghost. You saved, you sanctified, your Holy Ghost filled, you're fire baptized, and you're on your way to heaven. with all the problems going on in our world. And I'm going to say this in the most humblest manner before I close out here. If your God can allow you to sit back and go to church and mosques and other religious buildings and services, while people that are incarcerated, mothers who want to tell their story about what happened to their son or daughter, and they call the news media to tell their story as in the days of old, and their story never get told. If you can live with a conscience like that, if you knew what I knew about what's going on behind closed doors here in Valdosta, and if you can remain silent, don't say nothing and don't feel nobody pain but those that you have and those who are in your house. If your God can allow you to live like that, and you just want to get to heaven and live in the hereafter, if your God can allow you to see 31 jail deaths from 1994 to 2009 and from 2009 to present, nobody knows and ain't nobody talking about it, and the Valdosta Daily Times and television stations and radio are not talking about it. Many of them were military veterans. If your God, if your Jesus, if your Muhammad, if your Buddha, if your other can allow you to live knowing that, and you don't do nothing and you don't say nothing, then I don't want to go to heaven with you. I don't want to go with your God. I don't want to go with your Jesus. I don't want to go with your Muhammad. I don't want to go with your Elijah. I want to go where there's another God. I want to go where the God of love is. I want to go where the God of power is. I want to go where the love of justice is. I want to go where the love of a conscience is. But your God, if your God can let you live like that, you are not concerned about your fellow man. I don't want to go to that heaven. Nah, I'll leave that to you. I'll leave that to you. Brother Rhymes a non-participant in that. I don't care nothing about your $300, $400, $500 or $1,000 suits. I don't care nothing about wearing a robe. It's not about the robe. This man robe had it for years. It's not about this robe. It's about what I have robed myself into. And I've enrolled myself into the love for my fellow human beings. And when you love somebody, then you appreciate the goodness of God, because God is love. And outside of God, there is no love. And so if you don't have love for your neighbor, perhaps Jesus said it best: love your neighbor as you love yourself. And if you don't love your neighbor as yourself, and if you can't stand up in times like these and show the world that you are the Moses of this dispensation, that you are the Elijah of this dispensation, that you are the Ezekiel in the valley of dry bones at this dispensation, that you are